And welcome, Tim. How are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I really like your Rise Against shirt. I got to see them earlier this year with they opened for Papa Roach, but I had already seen Papa Roach last year, and they put on a phenomenal show. Really, I mean,
That's
even if
awesome.
you don't care for their music that much, which I do. I mean, I like their music, but their show is pretty awesome. Pretty just, it's pretty hard rocking. It's not metalcore or anything like that, but
No,
it's
no.
still pretty good. But Rise Against was opening, and I hadn't seen Rise Against yet, and I was just like, oh, we have to go to this show. So I was just, I was just excited to actually get to see them, and they got to talk a little bit about things going on in the world,
Yep.
and yeah, so I was yeah, I'm a fan, so
It's a good thing.
yeah, it is a good thing. So well, I don't know, tell me, I feel like a job interview, right? Well, tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about yourself. Why don't we talk, you and I had talked a little bit because I was looking for someone who came from a progressive Christian background, and my best friend in high school, she is ordained minister. She is now pretty much just a pastor's wife, but but they have a progressive church, and every once in a while I check in on them on Facebook, to watch their streams, and just to give some, we Marco Polo back and forth. She is the only individual in the world that I Marco Polo with, but that's how she likes to communicate, so I do it.
That's all I tend to do as I call, wait for a call or text back,
Yeah,
call.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, just to kind of dive into it, my story is a fairly long one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I got time.
to to start off, um, to really start off, um, I am a preacher's kid.
Okay.
Uh, my dad. I guess to start off, when I was 2 years old, my dad went to seminary
Mm-hmm.
here in New Jersey, and was an ordained deacon in the United Methodist Church until the day he died, which was 5 years ago in September.
Okay.
Before that, his mom, both of her grandfathers were prominent in founding two specific churches in Northeast Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
My parents met in church. Both families knew each other from church. So, going to church was definitely a huge thing for my family. And that's how I grew up. But I've always really questioned the church in general, questioned Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad always supported that. He was never you have to believe. He was this is what I believe, but I want you to figure out what you believe on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always considered myself more of a kind of a spiritual person, not so much believing in God, believing in Jesus, but more just believing in life it's
I
kind of
was,
just
I was
how.
going to ask what that definition looks like for you, because
Yeah,
I
just
don't know how to define
to,
it necessarily.
to me, to define it in a Christian form, it's really just loving what's around you.
Okay. Yeah.
Looking at the birds and the trees and admiring how amazing this is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really how I thought it should be. But yeah, I still went to church.
Yeah.
I grew up going to church camp. My best friend, who I've known since I was 10, we met at church. We did youth group together, and then he was the best man at my wedding. He's the godfather to my child. We
Mm-hmm.
talk to this day.
Yeah.
But as I was kind of witnessing everything as a preacher's kid, I saw, for lack of a better word, these evils, this hatred that comes up in both conservative and progressive Christianity.
Hmm.
Um,
Like what?
well, so when my dad was in seminary, my middle sister, I have two siblings.
Mm-hmm.
My middle sister was born with severe developmental disabilities,
Yeah.
and his professor uh, at a theological seminary said that the class needed to pray for him because the devil had invaded our class. And to me, that no,
That'll do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so I didn't find out that story until I was an adult, because I was 3, 4 at the time.
Yeah.
But looking back at that, it's such bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So then I really started questioning when I hit high school. I was a prominent member of the youth group.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great crew. We traveled to Haiti. We traveled to France. We did mission trips, and it was great.
Yeah.
And I had this minister, and she got me through high school. She helped me through my depression, through suicidal ideation, through questioning sexuality. She was a mentor
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
Um, and
Sounds pretty awesome.
she is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I still talk to her.
Great.
And she came out.
Mm-hmm.
She was an associate minister at my church. The entire church knew. She just wasn't out.
Yeah.
We knew her spouse,
Mm-hmm.
but for her to actually say it.
Right.
And then I sat with her during her trial for being what the church described as a self-proclaimed practicing homosexual.
Okay.
And I sat there with her. I cried with her.
Mm-hmm. What kind of denomination was this?
This is the United Methodist Church.
United Methodist. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Before the schism, which just happened
Yeah.
a couple years last year.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to think of, wasn't the United Methodist Church had something similar? I want to say his name was Gene something, but that was
Frank Schaefer?
No,
Oh.
I don't think so, but I might be
Okay.
wrong. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Frank Schaefer is going to be continuation.
Okay,
of that.
Great.
So at that point in time, I was going, heading off to college, and I'm just like, you know what, fuck the church. You're going to treat people who given their life to you. You're just going to throw them away.
Yeah.
You're going to take away their college, their master's degree in divinity because of who they are. No, I don't need to be somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So I gave up, and I just. Irony is that I was also at a private Christian college at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So
might not want to be too out about that.
Yeah.
They probably would have some issues.
Yeah. And then, so a couple of years later, I decided to go back. I had met my now ex-wife. We had our first kid. And I decided, so my dad performed our marriage. My dad baptized our first kid. So I decided to try to go back. And I even thought about going to seminary myself. Maybe I can fix this hatred from the inside.
Yeah. Like maybe you didn't understand something, or maybe where you came from had a corruption there that wasn't not systemic, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then, shortly after that, there was a minister. His name was Frank Schaefer. Very, very nice guy, who was also put on trial for performing the marriage of his son to another gentleman, which my dad had done. My dad had performed my marriage just a few years before.
Yeah.
So they tried to strip his credentials too, and I'm like, no, like I'm done. I'm done with all of you.
Yeah.
But I still had my dad. I still had, a kind of a spiritual belief, and maybe there is something bigger out there. Maybe there is God. Maybe there is, Sky Daddy, Spaghetti Monster, or, whatever it is out there.
Ramen.
But the final straw for me was when my dad died. So there were some situations that weren't the best when my dad died, but all of his friends, all of these clergy, all of these ministers, these, all these word of God people completely turned their back on me, my sisters, my kid. We haven't talked to them since before he died. Well, that's not true. My sister did confront one of them, and his response was, "Well, that wasn't very Christian of us, was it?"
At least, like, thanks for the acknowledgement.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
But that was really the last straw for me. I had always questioned, but there was something about like a historical Jesus even, and these guys are following the historical Jesus. And it's like, no, you guys aren't following shit. You're going to call out, all this hatred, as the Progressive United Methodists, you support gay marriage. You support, I had members in my church who marched with Dr. King. We sent a delegation to Nelson Mandela's election. We had a partnership with a church in Haiti where we're rebuilding after earthquakes and all this stuff. And it's,
right.
You guys are trying to do all this great stuff, and then none of it fucking matters.
Yeah. Kind of feel like, almost feel like you're, you've got this dichotomy of like, here, you guys are going out into the world doing all of these things, and yet, you have a falling out for the one back at home, and you can't even support like a family, even just to show up so nobody showed up at the funeral, right? Nobody. Yeah.
Not a single member of clergy.
Yeah.
Except for the gentleman who unfortunately he passed last week. Except for the gentleman who marched with Dr. King, he showed up.
Yeah. Okay. So I was raised Southern Baptist, and the Methodist, I don't know. There were things I didn't dive into it deeply, and I was raised in a small town, so for all that's worth. The Methodist Church, I never really understood why we weren't. I felt like they weren't accepted, but Baptist, I don't think accepts anybody but people in their own church. So
not to be too nerdy here, but the reason the United Methodists aren't really accepted is because they don't adhere to papal succession.
Okay.
Every other denomination has papal succession. They can trace their ordination back to Pope John or whoever it was.
Okay.
The Methodists cannot do that because Charles Wesley was the bishop and said, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
And went on and started ordaining people himself.
Okay.
So that's why no one really trusts the Methodists.
Now, I don't know. I went out with a girl in college, and we went to, she had some sort of Wesleyan church, and I went with her, and I don't know. Everybody seemed cool. I mean, I didn't, I wasn't really, that relationship didn't go anywhere, but I mean, so neither did me sticking around to check out the church anymore. But, so I am curious about some of those, I mean, like beliefs, like let's say, I don't know, baptism, where are we at? Baptism, important, not important, sprinkle, dunk, hose? What do we?
So my dad, before my first kid had been born, had taken a pilgrimage to Israel and brought back water from the River Jordan, and we got our kids baptized because it was important to my dad.
Yeah.
My ex-wife is a recovering Catholic.
Okay. Yeah.
So has absolutely no want or need for religion. but it was important to my dad. So that's why we did it.
Okay.
But it's not dunk. It's just a little pitcher of water and dump it over the head.
Okay. Infants, not infants, doesn't matter. Infants.
Babies.
Okay. Babies. Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So kind of in line with old school Catholicism.
But you also can be baptized as an adult. So if you're not a Methodist, you can come in as an adult and you'll be baptized and accepted.
Yeah. I mean, the baby thing counts all the way. It's kind of weird though. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the infant baptism just because, I mean, again, this is a lot of Southern Baptist stuff, but the rationale, which to me is logical, is that babies can't make choices.
Correct. So the baptism is the parent's choice. And then for the United Methodists at age 13, 14, you go through confirmation.
Okay.
Where you are re-upping your parents' choice, or you say no and you bounce.
Yeah,
so
it's like renewing a subscription.
Exactly.
The thing that I am most interested in is like, what about biblical inerrancy? Was that ever a thing, or
I mean, when it comes to the Bible, I mean, the one thing my dad was always good at is I could come to him with a problem, and be like, hey, give me something, something from the Bible, to help me figure this out. And he always did. He always knew it, but he never said this is how it is. He said this, read this, see if it points you in a direction, but never this is a factual book.
Yeah. Well, that's it's very different from my from my upbringing, because the Bible was considered to be inerrant, and then whenever you have questions, I mean, whenever you see other people like my friend, or you and your story, the questions that come up to me is like, well, then what is it for? If it's not inerrant, then I don't fully grasp what you latch on to. And then we get into deeper theological things, like were Adam and Eve real in your belief?
I mean,
back then.
No, never in my belief.
No. Okay, so then leads me to the next question. If Adam and Eve weren't real and the the story of original sin happened, then did Jesus need to die for anyone's sins?
I mean, I think that opens a can of worms.
Yeah.
I mean, did he? Did he die for our sins? Did he die? Did he live?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? who knows? Is the Shroud of Turin real? I mean, that's been debunked multiple times.
Right,
but
multiple times, yeah.
Is the vial of blood in Belgium? Is that real? Or the splinter, that's at the Vatican, is that real? is any of it real?
I've heard so many stories, and I also, after the internet came along in more ubiquitous fashion, I started to dismantle some, at least urban legends that I had heard. Things about, the old, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but if you came across somebody without their lights on, well, you didn't want to flash them, because that could be some sort of gang initiation thing, and then they'd come back and find you.
Yeah,
urban legend, total bullshit. Stuff like that, and some of it's made me. I think about that every once in a while, about how that I was the early days, back whenever I was super happy to have a more than dial-up connection. It wasn't oh man, I'm so old. But it wasn't cable. It wasn't like Ethernet grade.
DSL?
Yeah, I think DSL. Yeah. So that sounds about right. So, I was happy that it was a little faster. But, and I'd go to this website called trutherfiction.com, and then it was basically like a Craigslist quality Snopes. I mean, as far as design goes and how it looked, and then I'd start looking all this shit up. I'm like, God damn it. Like there's just there's just things that I always thought were true, or what I told were true, was told were true. And then you find out that it's just urban legend, just myth, and it gets perpetuated for decades and decades and decades.
Well, so when I went to my dad and said, hey, Dad, I'm questioning my faith. I'm questioning
Yeah.
all of this. And he says, okay, well, read the story after the crucifixion. Look at Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Look at doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
And Thomas is there and says, if this actually happened, show me.
Mm-hmm.
Like show me. Thomas says, show me the hands in his palms.
Right.
Show me.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay. So I read that and I said, okay, show me.
Mm-hmm.
Show me something.
Right. Just
and,
for the audience, you were talking to God. You were not talking to your dad.
No. Well, yes, no. Yeah. I was not asking my dad to show me.
Right.
Yeah. But my dad directed me to the Bible, and I asked the spirits, asked anyone to show me anything, and there was nothing to show.
Yeah.
And then I really started researching other religions, more of like a Celtic polytheism or a Norse polytheism. And to me, that made more sense because it was stories. It's not, no one's saying that's true.
Mm-hmm.
No one's saying that Thor creates the lightning or that Loki causes all the mischief.
Hold on. What? Thor doesn't create the lightning?
I know. It's a sad. I mean, Chris Hemsworth creating lightning, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So nobody believed that was true in those belief systems, those religions.
Not currently.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, back in, I don't know, a long time ago. Yes. Mm-hmm. But not in the 20th century. People realized these are just stories.
Right.
Whereas people who, really dive into the Christian religion or this isn't a story. This is what happened.
Yeah. It
rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and some 900-year-old dude built a 40-cubit ark and put two of every kind of animal on the. To them, that's fact, and it's like, well, it isn't necessarily fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's it's interesting, the stories that we buy into, and you mentioned Thomas. The thing about Thomas is that he was the original skeptic, right?
Yep.
He was like, I need to see something, and I realized that from that passage also comes like, it's better for those who, haven't seen and still believe. And you ever come across these verses that you're like, oh man, that's fucking convenient. Like that is one of those really fucking convenient verses. It's like, well, this, if that verse wasn't there, then it probably wouldn't perpetuate some of the vitriol you see about like what, somebody, well, I need evidence. What kind of evidence? What God has done in my life. Like, okay, well, that's fine. But is that testable? It's like, they're just absolutely sure, sure that they heard something, they saw something, they felt something.
And there's so many theories that are attached to the Bible. I don't know if you've ever heard of, it was a book called Caesar's Messiah.
No. Haven't heard of that.
Okay, so it's about Emperor Titus, and how all of these stories of Jesus are actually about Titus, because he wanted to be seen as this Messiah. So he took what he did and put it into the Bible. So again, but it's a theory. It's not actually proven or provable, but it's an interesting theory.
Yeah,
like the rest of the Bible, it's all interesting theory.
No, I haven't heard of that, so I'll have to look that up. There's been things that I've heard afterwards, like really only recently. I didn't realize that that Nero, that had like there was the idea of the resurrected Nero, and that
Mm-hmm.
there was somebody that had claimed they were Nero, and that rumors had spread that Nero had resurrected, basically. And I think most biblical scholars that aren't Christian, they tend to look at Revelation as a book about the that the beast, the number of the beast is actually Caesar,
Yep.
and that all of that is about, basically the destruction of the temple and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just so fascinating how everybody looks at things differently. And just you and I, we share a common background in Christianity. That's just
Yep.
like, we'll just plant our flag there.
Yeah.
But then you move out, and then they wildly vary, on beliefs. Like, for me, the Bible was everything, dude. Like, it was like, that's what you did, and you learned it, and you should, we had things about little contests for kids about memorizing Bible verses and stuff like that. And then your dad is like, I'll see if I can find you something.
I can still recite every book of the Bible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we learned that in like 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, probably some song, right? Genesis.
No, this was
This
was just straight out memorizing it. We would have our Palm Sunday Pursuit, which was like Trivial Pursuit on Palm Sunday, where we answer all these biblical questions, got candy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I grew up watching. I tell people still to this day, there were these biblical cartoon videos, and they came in a gray box, and I don't know where to find them, but I grew up watching these, David and Goliath and the Ark. And
yeah.
it's great memories, but it's not religion to me.
Mm-hmm. What were you ever into any Christian music?
Surprisingly, not until later.
Okay.
Once I hit college, I started getting into bands like Reliant K, Under Oath. A lot of those bands on like Tooth and Nail record. I had really discovered, punk at that point in time. So I'm really kind of diving into that.
Yeah.
But a lot of those bands, they weren't necessarily Christian. They just found this label that would sign them and kind of leaned into it.
Yeah. Gosh, I think I saw Under Oath too.
I probably saw them in the early 2000s. But I mean, they've gone away from that whole Christian element.
Yeah.
But it's always like MXPX.
Switchfoot.
Switchfoot.
Yeah.
So the mainstream bands I did kind of get into, not because they were Christian, because I liked their music. They just happened to be Christian.
Yeah. There's a couple of bands kind of floating around that, because I'm more into metal, like, heavier stuff, and then there's some bands that every once in a while I come across them, and then it's like, oh, they're a Christian band, and then I have a moment, basically, because I grew up with a lot of Christian metal. I mean, a lot.
I listened to I got into Lamb of God for a while.
Yeah.
And, but that's really it. I
mean, they're not Christian.
They're not Christian,
but they got a Christian sounding name, which is great fun if you want to trick your mom.
There was always talk. There was always rumor that they were, and it's like, no, they're not. But So and then growing up, I was in like, I guess, Jars of Clay, POD.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Creed. Back in the 90s, not so much now, but
not so much now. Yeah.
No.
I mean, there are things that you're forced to listen to,
Yeah. Well,
and at the time I was a fan sort of Creed, or at least I had the CD and I liked it and I was okay with it. And then
it was on the radio. It was great.
It didn't have staying power for me. No. I mean, if other people like it, I don't care. That's fine.
But for me, the really big thing wasn't so much music, but movies, and seeing how Christianity is portrayed in these popular movies.
Do you think of one that really stood out?
Transformers.
Wait a minute, old school or new school?
Both.
Okay.
but we'll go like 1984 cartoon.
Like Transformers the movie. Yeah, the
Trans- like,
first movie I
yes,
ever cried to. Thank you very much.
One of the most amazing movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
Optimus Prime sacrifices himself and
He
gives
does.
his spirit to,
That's a good point. Yeah.
But then, you go into the, I don't know, Jerry Bruckheimer atrocities that they were.
Yeah.
And, spoiler alert, he dies, and then he's resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and saves the world. It's stuff like that.
Yeah. More stories that perpetuate forward, kind of based on the same trope a lot of times. And Christianity is not really original in that respect either. There's lots of stories that are older than that. And, the factual route doesn't really seem to help. I try to point people to the older stories, older stories. Like I have a copy of the Epic of Gilgamesh that my that my family, I subject them to different things, and it's family time. And it's like my daughter, she had surgery today because she broke her arm, and we're sitting in the waiting room and we don't have anything to do. And so I'm like, well, you want to read the Bible? Because we do read the Bible every night as a way of going through it, because part of it is, I do think it is a cultural thing that everybody should have a good knowledge of. But, I don't want you to have the culture aspect of it, meaning the culturally watered down version. Like I have books behind me. Like I have the Action Bible. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's hold on. Let me it's like this. So it's got cartoons and stuff, right?
Oh,
yeah. So it looks like, a graphic novel, basically. It's really, really well drawn and it's cool. But these are all the good stories. They're not the really terrible ones.
So I've kind of turned, unfortunately, into a theological troll when it comes to social media, and really just trying to point out the inaccuracies and the hypocrisy. And I got into a discussion with someone the other day where he quoted the Old Testament, and I so I quoted other facts of the Old Testament, and he goes, "Oh, well, that's Hebrew law. That's not for Gentiles." And it's like, well, but you just quoted the exact same thing as for Gentiles, but not these.
Yeah.
So,
it's great to have that double standard.
It is
that you can pivot off of at any time. Where, we can talk about Leviticus and talk about sex with a man or whatever, but then we won't talk about all the other laws and be like, well, there's a difference between ceremonial laws and moral laws and all that stuff. And I'm like, what did Jesus say about it? Oh, Jesus said that none of those will pass away. That he was like, I fulfill it, but you guys still don't, and you will keep this forever, and nobody seems to really want to buy into that, even though I'm like, well, that's what the book says,
Well, my favorite what the book says moment is I asked for someone to point out an exact scripture that mentions the word homosexual prior to 1850.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they can't.
Right.
Because it wasn't a word.
Because we're talking about King James Bible, right?
Well, any Bible. Anybody.
Any Bible.
Homosexual was not a word until the late 19th century.
And the word that Paul used, that I will not remember at all, that I would have
Greek.
to Google it. It's Greek, and it's not a real word or something.
It begins with an A. I know that for a fact, but it's an idea.
Should I Google it? Let's see. I
want to say A-A-K. It's been a long day. I can't spell today.
It's going to fuck up my search results. What is arson? oko. Yeah, the Greek word is
Yep.
A-R-S-E. Arse. That's funny. ARSENOKOITAI, often translated as homosexual. In some English
Right.
Bible versions, is a compound word. So it's a portmanteau.
Yeah. So,
Basically,
but I ask for that, and it's always they always get defensive.
Uh-huh.
Well, it doesn't matter. The Bible's against that, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the word didn't exist doesn't mean the Bible's not against it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, well, is that what you were told, or is that what you've researched and found out for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Well, give me an argument.
Right. Yeah. Give me something to work with.
Exactly.
And
instead of just
that's just what
calling
it
me
is.
names.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you, whenever you are trolling and you come across this, I have noticed a pattern. Okay.
Uh-huh.
There are some things I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about when it comes to patterns, because I'm afraid I'll get canceled and I'll lose my tens of listeners. But there are things that I've noticed, and one of these days, in the right setting, in the right environment, with a guest that I think is probably most. I have an idea in mind who that person might be, but we'll have to see if I can get him on. But yeah, particularly of let's say skin color.
Mm-hmm.
That there's it. I see patterns there, and I'm like, wow, what's going on there? There seems to be some sort of like concentrated explosion.
Well, so that not to get you canceled, but I got last evening into this morning into this afternoon. I got a lot of very, very angry and hateful responses to my defense of Cynthia Erivo portraying Jesus Christ.
Of what? What was that?
Cynthia Erivo?
No, not a thing.
Have you seen Wicked?
No, because that's evil.
No.
Okay.
So
Cynthia Erivo.
They just did a production of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay, I have been hearing a lot about
Bowl.
that. So
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not too out of the loop.
Everyone is all up in arms because she is a black woman.
Yeah.
Portraying Jesus Christ.
Okay. Yeah.
I came in support of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a play.
I said she's that, but I said she's a woman of color. Yeah. I'd rather a person of color portray Jesus, who was also a person of color,
than another white dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then I also said, because your historical Jesus was born of a virgin, Jesus lacked the Y chromosome, which comes from a biological father. And their response was, no, Jesus was man.
Okay.
So
that's
yeah.
This is why the podcast is named as such, so that way I can ponder such things.
I was definitely. I'll be fair. I was rage baiting. I wanted the arguments, but some of the hate that I received made me, very secure in my leaving Christianity. I've gotten called things that I've actually I got told to eat dog food.
Oh, well, I mean, depending on what you're into, it might not be such a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, I once followed.
It's nutritious.
It is. Although one time coming home from work, I smelled something awful on the highway, and I looked up and I saw this truck in front of me that had these very stiff, like cow legs, like kind of vibrating. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I realized what it was. And I told my coworker the next day, I'm like, dude, like I was going home for work. It was a 30-minute drive, and I'm like behind this thing the whole entire way. And I'm like adjusting the cabin filter thing. And, and he was like, oh, yeah, like that's how they make dog food. I'm like, oh, they use like they take old, cows that died, and they're like, well, good enough for a dog. So sorry, dog lovers. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I'd have to look it up online and find out probably even weirder things. But I digress. This is pretty typical for me. So Okay. Well, I mean, you eat dog food if you want to. But yeah, like you have these, through the trolling,
Hmm.
maybe they're trolling for Jesus and you're trolling for not Jesus, trolling
Yes.
for self, and it is kind of, I don't want to, I don't really want to call it fun because you know, I don't, I just want to provoke people to try to think, damn it. Like because one of the biggest patterns I see, and I talk about this so often. My wife has heard me rant about this. Like, it just feels so programmatic. All the answers are basically the same. It's like, well, I don't believe in Jesus. Oh, we should believe in Jesus. He's the way, the truth, and the life. I'm like, yeah, I know. I get that you believe that, and that's and those are words and things like that. But at the same time, then you'll find like 50 other people that will say very similar things, not identical, but they're pretty close, to the point that it just feels like a script. And I get that non-believers have a bit of a script too, but and my only defense of that is that it's just easy to keep the message because of like, well, I don't find sufficient evidence for God. That's when I see repeated a lot. But it's good that we have that script because people have a misconception about what an atheist is.
Yeah.
Like they, like, oh, you hate God. Like, no, I hate God about as much as I hate, Sauron, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I just or Bumblebee,
I mean,
Megatron,
I do hold an extreme hatred for King Joffrey, though.
Okay,
Like
yeah, oh sure,
that dude can rot in hell for all
yeah,
I care. But I think another point for me is the intersectionality of religion and politics,
yeah,
and I'm just so sick of it
yeah.
that it's just like it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But I mean, really, does it? Does it not make sense?
I mean, to them it does. To me, it doesn't. So I was walking around around the city a couple weeks ago, and was walking by Planned Parenthood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful place to hang out. Um, but so I was walking, and this dude just looked at me. I mean, he had his little fetus sign, and abortion is murder,
Yeah.
and I wasn't paying attention to him, but he looked me dead in the eye and goes, "God bless you." And, and I sat there for a second, and then I turned around and said, "Nah, nah, you can go fuck yourself. I'm good." And I kept walking. But it's just like there's no need for that.
Yeah. That's a tough one. God
Yeah,
bless you is a tough one because, I think culturally it's kind of just an accepted thing,
it
and
is. It
it's
is.
well meaning, and there are plenty of people that don't have any belief that say, well, God bless you,
Oh
whatever.
yeah. I mean, when you sneeze,
Oh,
but this was
we actually in the house we have that has morphed over the last few months. It's been kind of funny, and I don't know if you can hear it in me. I've been dealing with some sort of allergy thing. I don't think it's a cold. I thought
mm,
it was a cold because it was so intense, and then now it's kind of like died down. So if I have to, like pause and go
yeah.
get the Kleenex. But anyway, so there's been a lot of sneezing in the last couple of days, is all I'm saying. And
Hmm.
first it was God bless you, and then one of the kids was like, "Can we still say that?" And we can say whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe in it. So well, we're all pretty much. I think I'm the only hard atheist. Like I'm just like no, and the
Yeah.
rest of them are more agnostic.
Yeah.
But even though a little over a year ago we were still going to church together, so it's kind of funny. Um,
But the thing about the God bless you while you're sneezing is also the historical aspect.
yeah,
It's you sneeze and the demon exits your body, and God
yeah.
bless you so it doesn't go back in. That it's interesting.
It
Um,
it is interesting if people take the time to think about that.
that's true.
It's one thing to say God bless you when you sneeze and move on. It's another thing to know that history,
Yeah.
know where that belief came from. And then that led us to a discussion about like Gesundheit, and then we had to look up what Gesundheit means. It means
Hmm.
health. So now we
Yep.
just say health.
Health. That works.
So, but it's just kind of a running joke in the family at this point, I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, on Seinfeld, they changed it to "You're so good looking," but
I mean, so when my current partner has the cutest sneezes, so all I
yeah,
say is that's cute now.
yeah.
When they sneeze.
Oh, that's cute. That's adorable. That's awesome. How long have you guys been together?
Oh, 3 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's like a real relationship.
I know, right?
That's great. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. So Gesundheit, stories. There we go. Politics. That's what we were talking about.
Stories, politics.
I don't really like talking about politics as a centerpiece because I feel that there's plenty of other people to do that, and don't we all kind of aren't we all kind of a little overwhelmed by that? That said, I don't think we should shy away from it either whenever we're talking about important issues, because I am certainly just fed up with the church's non-response, just overall. Like I would have thought that if you were a die-hard, tried and true believer, and Palestine didn't exist back then, but Jesus, the man, I still struggle on if he was real. I'm 50-50 on if it was real or not. I accept that most, historians accept that he was real. There's lots of things that change over time. So I don't know. The evidence is pretty thin. But anyway, he came from the Palestinian area that we recognize today. And why I don't understand why wouldn't churches that haven't gone fully to the right, fully insane, that they wouldn't be protesting, shutting things down, saying this is wrong. I don't give a shit at all about terrorist organizations because they're different from people. Not everybody in Germany was a Nazi. Not every Muslim is an Islamic extremist, and not every Christian Republican is MAGA. And the same thing, not every Palestinian is Hamas. I just look at it as a humanitarian thing. Like, these are people.
So my dad, he was very progressive, and he was political in his own sense.
Yeah.
And the first time that I ever saw someone get up and walk out of his sermon in protest was in 2002, 2003, when we were bombing the Middle East.
Yeah.
And in his sermon, he pointed out that we're bombing these lands. We're bombing, the lands where Jesus was.
Yeah.
And someone didn't like that, so they got up and just walked out.
Right. Leading up to the 2020 election, nope, I got that wrong. 2016 election. Yeah, there was some. The churches I attended were not, because we moved quite a bit, so I have to add it in the plural, I tried not to hop around if possible, but, they were generally non-denominational after I got into adulthood, which just means like we have some kind of fundy face, but we don't want to go insane about it. And we have coffee and stuff, and that's not bad, actually. Good coffee, pastries, etc., band's pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, if there were ever discussions that were quasi-political, no endorsements, nothing like that, but you could see that there every once in a while there would be some people in the congregation that were kind of squirming a little bit because they weren't sure how to process what they were hearing. Like, no, we should be for that candidate. And I'm with you, man. Like, I hate the marriage of politics and religion, but I also don't know if it can be avoided.
So the other thing specifically about my dad was he wouldn't wear a clerical collar very often.
Yeah. Why was that?
But he just didn't want to.
Oh, okay. Wasn't a statement or anything like that. It was just like,
it was not a statement. He owned plenty of them. But, going Sunday, he would just, nice suit, tie, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But there were certain times where he would wear his clerical collar. One was getting his driver's license picture taken.
Okay. So he got the official document for it. He goes to the hospital or something, right? That.
No, you get pulled over by a cop, you hand them that, and they see it. So hopefully they'll feel bad for you.
I like it.
But the other was when he was protesting. So I saw my dad arrested twice for civil disobedience.
Cool.
It was awesome. I couldn't have been prouder.
Yeah.
It is a very divisive topic. The first time he did a sit-in at a gun store, he was very, very anti-firearms.
Okay. Yeah.
But so there's pictures in the paper of the police pulling him away in his clerical collar.
Mm-hmm.
So he's making this statement.
Yeah.
So he turned the church political instead of using politics in the church.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Even if he never said it from the pulpit, his actions outside of the pulpit ends up kind of, getting back in there, right?
And he was, like I said, he was very progressive. So in the United Methodist Church, we have a thing called reconciling congregations.
Okay. What's that do?
It's a congregation that is openly admitting to being accepting of the LGBT plus community.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the church has to vote. I don't know if it's a thing anymore after the schism, after the split.
Mm-hmm.
But before that it was. And it was just something that he pushed for in every church that he went to.
You probably know more about this since it's your history than me. You want to talk a little bit about the schism? That was last year, right?
Yeah, I think it was last
2023. Looks like.
Okay, so 2 years ago. Yeah. I really fell off after 2020. After my dad died, I really fell off of all the news and kind of distanced myself completely.
Yeah. Well, we did go through a pandemic, at the same time.
Well, yeah.
So yeah.
Also at that point in time, I was working in a hospital. And my dad was dealing with this, this lung condition, and my sister was having a baby, and so a lot was going on.
A lot going on, yeah.
During
I hear
COVID.
that, yeah.
But the schism, it's been talked about for years, and there are two very distinct factions in the Methodist Church. It's the progressives and the biblical conservatives, the people who want no gay marriage, and want to just kind of live how they think the Bible is, whereas the progressive want to be more humanistic.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. From their phrasing from their book of discipline, their rule book, self-avowed practicing homosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
So in the more progressive church, they can be in the pulpit. In the more conservative church, as long as you're not practicing, they can, as long as they're celibate, they can be in the pulpit.
Right.
But you can't be married, can't have a partner, nothing.
Can't be married. So in the pulpit, what about attending?
Attending you can, but you're going to hear a lot of anti-gay, speech.
Oh, okay. Fun.
Yeah.
Must feel so welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Methodists, the motto was always open hearts, open doors, open minds.
Yeah.
Except for when you don't fit there.
I'm gonna process that for a minute. But I did while we were talking, I realized that who I was referring to was Gene Robinson, who was an Episcopal, non-Methodist. That's what I was thinking of earlier. I'd like to look more into his story because he would have probably had to come up with some sort of defense of why he thought that he was valid. He probably had to make his own arguments for why he was valid.
So that's where the real kind of not so much legal issue, but the semantics issue comes in, because they're not trying to get you to argue that homosexuality is right or wrong. They're trying to get you to be guilty of defying their rule book.
Yeah.
So my minister Beth from high school, she was not put on trial for being a lesbian. She was put on trial for disobeying their rule book because she wasn't a self-avowed practicing homosexual.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how they kind of skirt around it. It's like you can do what you want, just don't ask, don't tell.
Or at least we don't put them to death here yet.
Well, that's true.
Unfortunately, I said yet just because I don't know where we're going in this country anymore. So,
I don't have enough to drink right now to
going. Which brings us to this thought of like, if things continue to deteriorate, and I have no reason to believe that they won't, a majority of Americans support like same-sex marriage, for instance.
Correct.
I mean, and I think if you start tearing away things, especially ones that are pretty widely accepted as like, yeah, we're cool with this, like, there's going to be hard lines drawn in the sand that probably are not going to get fixed with the Saturday protest.
Yes, I agree. And I think we're starting to see that right now because they have yet to release the Epstein list.
Yeah.
But I think that, is really crossing party lines, in DC right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of those hard lines. And I think we're going to find more of those.
Yeah.
But I also think we need to put up barricades against those lines right now to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they took They took Roe v. Wade in 2022, 2023. So it's only a matter of time before they take, anything else. Brown versus Board of Education. I mean, that can be gone in a snap.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some kind of religious backing to it. Oh, well, I don't know, mixing fabrics or something. Who knows?
Yeah. You're familiar with the word syncretism? It's a hard word, and it's also new to me. So SYNCRE. Yeah, syncretism. It is. It's an attempted amalgamation of different religions. So it's like basically it's the evolution of religious belief. And if you look at I bet the early church is radically different from from today.
Yes. I mean, even you talk about the early church. You look at the Crusades. I mean, they sent an army of knights against the Muslims in the Middle East. Like, it kind of feels like that's what's coming down the pipeline.
Well, or maybe it already happened. I mean, if you were in the Middle East during 2001 to 2020, maybe you felt the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, that how come we can't get people to put themselves in someone else's shoes for like 5 fucking minutes?
Oh, yeah. I think
like,
one of the things that really got to me was in like 2010, 2011. I joined the Freemasons.
Oh, okay.
I was looking for information on my grandfather, who I'd never met, and ended up joining. And even then, it was like, well, you can't be Catholic.
You can't be Catholic in the Freemasons?
You couldn't. You can now.
Okay.
But there was a time where you couldn't be Jewish, you couldn't be Catholic, you couldn't be black. You had to be free white Protestant in 21.
They probably changed that when the old people started dying off and they had to get some new blood in, which
they did.
Yeah.
They did. But it came from the Pope. The Pope said, you cannot join because the Freemasons have their secrets. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to tell your priest everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the Catholic Church doesn't keep any secrets.
Oh, no. None, right? Jesus.
I joke, but at the same time, I get so frustrated because I'm like, I don't know how anyone could stay in that church. I don't know how anyone can stay as a Southern Baptist. If you have any shred of, moral decency to you, because or what is the really like holiness, really super, the hate preacher types,
Oh,
I'm like, how do you guys
like
not have
Westboro,
heartburn? Yeah,
Westboro
that, yeah,
Baptist.
they're like that. And
Yeah.
I've chatted with a
Um,
guy that he just spouts bullshit and
oh
hate,
yeah.
and I invited him on. I'm like, yeah, come on, reconvert me, and he pussied out and didn't, you know. I've invited him several times, and he won't do it. Now he'll get online and spout shit into the into the internet, but
Yeah.
but God forbid
I
you have a conversation, So, and by
I
God,
think
I mean Anubis. Just for everybody listening, I'm not referring to Yahweh. I'm referring to Anubis. So,
ah
big fan of Anubis. Very cool. Make a great
um
costume.
I think Dan Brown really got a lot of it right in his Robert Langdon series. The Da Vinci Code, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really enjoyed reading those. But I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of religion, but also just truth to it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there are things that have happened over a course of time,
Yep.
but of course they're all based, these real things happen based upon beliefs that we can't necessarily verify.
Hmm.
Uh, and then it really, it adds to the mystery, which makes for a good story, but doesn't necessarily make for a good truth,
Right. I mean, and I think that's the main problem, is that people don't see them as stories. People see them as truth.
Yeah. And then they work them into their lives,
Yep.
and then that gets worked into other aspects of their lives, like work and church and school and
Yep.
all that other kind of stuff. And before
I
long,
mean,
you've got a school board trying to stick the 10 commandments on every,
yep.
which is a terrible.
It's a horrible
I
idea.
don't even get it. Like, if you're going to pick, why would you pick one, a set of
Hmm?
rules that at least two of them are just about pretty much say the same thing?
I mean,
Uh, you know,
I think I'm going to found a school, and on the outside, I'm going to put the rules of Fight Club.
there's only one, sort of, technically,
But yeah, so
Fight Club School.
the one thing that I have seen recently is people asking, why do the non-believers hate Christians so much? And the only answer that I can, I don't know, feasibly come up with is because I've never been told that I'm wrong by someone who's Jewish or
Hmm.
Muslim or Hindu. I've never tried to be reformed by them. I've only tried to be reformed by Christians.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, they're opening it up for themselves.
I don't know. I've had some Muslims tell me I'm wrong, you know, um,
Yeah.
but they didn't necessarily try to convert me. They were just really trying to tell me that they were right,
Yes.
and you're wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what I get out of that, but,
No.
um,
No.
but
I've been told you need Jesus multiple times,
yeah.
and I'm like, no, nope. I just need a nice glass of scotch and a new tattoo. That'll fix everything.
um, what, you got any ideas for your next tattoo?
Yes. In January, I made the decision, and I said, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
I am getting an Eagles tattoo.
Okay.
Um, Philly, born and bred, go
Yeah.
Birds.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's probably gonna be my next one. I'm just waiting to design it and find the right artist.
Yeah. After I get off here, um, I would go behind me to the
Yeah,
gym that's on the other side of the basement wall, and and there was a mirror left behind, big giant mirror, that I put behind my squat rack, and
yeah.
I have a phrase written on that mirror that inspires me, and it says, "Hungry dogs run faster." Do you know who said that? So
Uh, I mean, I can tell you that Jason Kelsey was obliterated at the art museum and said that.
that was such a great video.
So unfortunately, I was unable to go to that parade, but I did go to the most recent, and
Yeah.
that was a religious experience for
Yeah.
me.
We had the Chiefs parade here,
Yeah, yeah.
and a couple
Unfortunately,
of years
yeah,
ago, and I went to that,
yeah,
and then I left, and I was probably that there ended up being a shooting there, and
yep.
I
I
was
do.
I was about 4 blocks away, but we're talking 4 Kansas City blocks, which is different than like 4. I mean,
Regular
maybe it's the
blocks.
same, but it felt like it was forever,
Yeah.
And I was on my way there, and I was just like, I don't know. I think I'm just going to get out of here because I think I'm good. I watched the parade. I took some
Yeah.
pictures. I've got video. I've got verified proof I was there, and and then I left, and then I'm on my way home, and at that time I was volunteering with an emergency management group in my county,
Hmm.
and I started getting text about shootings and stuff like that. And is anybody at the parade? And I'm like, what the
Oh
fuck are
wow.
you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I just left there. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, there was a shooting, and down at Union Station. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
So, but I'm an
Okay, so
idiot. I'd
we
have probably ran toward it, So I'm stupid
so
back then.
luckily we did not have any incidents at this recent parade, but the one thing I can say is being there, seeing these millions of people from Philadelphia, lining the streets, cheering for the same team,
Yeah.
and then once the parade went by, it just turned into a huge dance party,
Yeah. Oh, sounds
and
like
just
fun.
hundreds and thousands of people just doing the electric slide. It didn't matter. It didn't matter, black, white,
Yeah.
Asian. It didn't matter. And
Uh-huh.
to me, that is what religion should be. Just
Yeah.
everybody coming together and just being joyful and having huge dance parties and not worrying about Sky Daddy saying no, this is bad.
Yeah.
But it's just everyone just being cool.
Well, here's my take on progressive Christianity.
Hmm.
Um, and granted, you got to understand, it's coming from a mind that has been warped by evangelical fundamentalism.
Hmm.
But I feel that progressives are really just humanists at heart. Like, they look at the world and their viewpoint is, hey, I think we should treat people like nice and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But because they're in church, they get to hang that on Jesus, and they get to pick the good things,
Hmm.
that are written in the books, and they say, well, we're going to take that and we're going to push that forward because we're nice people. We think everybody deserves to be treated well and nice, and they go with that.
Yeah.
However, um, there's that whole aspect. I mean, like you said earlier, like, well, no, Adam and Eve isn't true. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if it's not true, then original sin isn't true. Then the need for sacrifices aren't is non-existent, which means
Hmm.
Jesus, the payment for our sins that we've been sold, like, that wasn't necessary.
Hmm.
And actually, this is a whole other blog post for in the future if I ever write again. But there are people in the Bible that were right with God,
Hmm.
that didn't, they didn't have to get saved. They were considered to be, like, God was okay with that, like, he was okay. So that's not, like, salvation isn't necessary, which then, like, it just starts spiraling from there, right? You don't need a whole lot of that
Hmm.
stuff. And then it makes me wonder, I'm like, why? I would love to see progressive Christianity take the helm, ditch the religious shit, and be like, hey, we're now just a fully secular humanist organization, and we need to band together because we need to have a place. That one of the things that non-believers miss out on is easily organized community. If I move all the way across the country, it's no big deal. I just look and I just find what fits with me, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to start attending there, and then I meet people, and then maybe have some Sunday classes. I would love to see that, and you have some of that, but it's not in mass.
That was one of the benefits of having a minister for a dad,
Yeah.
is that I could
You're
be
like the
like,
only person to ever say that. No one ever says I had a benefit of I was a
when
PK, but
the
it was all
PK
good.
is beneficial.
Yeah.
If I went somewhere and I did at that point in time in my life, need some, counseling,
Yeah.
or I needed to go to church. I could be like, "Hey, Dad, do you know anybody here
Yeah.
or in the area?"
Yeah.
And it'd be like, "Oh yeah, my buddy from seminary is from there. He's at this church. You can go
Yeah.
talk to him."
Yeah.
So that was a really, I didn't need to look for it for myself. I had someone to point me in the right direction.
Right. Yeah.
Which
It's
as
like
someone questioning was great.
yeah. It's a social network that actually works,
Exactly.
to your benefit. I mean, I would love to see that if some branch, some denomination just said,
Hmm.
um, I had that thought yesterday. I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if leadership just got together and said, "Hey, we gotta come clean with you. We don't really believe in this, but we're kind of stuck,
Hmm.
in because it's an institutional thing, but this isn't true. It's just stories. It's stories that people wrote because for various reasons. Some of it's control, some of it's prejudice, uh, but we want to right that ship now. And we want to start a brand new organization using the infrastructure we already have in place. And we just want to
Hmm.
move forward and give the congregation permission to be like, no, you can also reject it too. And we start working on being human
Yeah.
to each other and humane, you know.
I think a lot of it, unfortunately, also has to do with capitalism, right?
Yeah.
So all these ministers, they have master's degrees, so they've put out all this money,
I got
and
I got ordained for $30, dude. So like,
well, I have also performed weddings, but I know my dad, along with his Juris Doctorate, because he practiced law before he went to seminary.
oh wow.
Um, yeah, oh, that was a whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, but then he got his master's in divinity, um, from Princeton. So he needed something. He could have gone that humanitarian route, but there's no guaranteed money.
No.
Not with
Yeah.
a new wife, two new kids, like, so you kind of just had to lay into it.
Yeah.
And with the cost of college now, I mean, you need that guaranteed income unless you want to go completely off script and do something else.
Yeah. Well, there are colleges in the United States. I can think of at least two. One here in Missouri, and I think there might be one in Ohio, maybe Illinois, somewhere in that
Okay.
area, that you can go tuition free.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Didn't know about that.
they're Christians
Yeah, yeah.
places, and they probably know that a lot of them won't even go the full 4 years because they're just there to find a spouse anyway.
That's
Uh,
true.
so, but yeah, you could go there and do that. But of course, you're buying into the whole shtick to do that,
Hmm.
and no,
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
yeah. So, tell me about life today. Like how do you live? I don't know. How do you go about, like, since you've walked away from everything?
Yeah.
What do you do that keeps that spirit of justice and compassion? In your secular, I'm doing air quotes, secular life. I love the word secular.
It's a
So
great word. Such a great word.
yeah,
I mean, really, essentially, just try to live the most humanistic life, that I can.
yeah,
I run in some very particular circles. A lot of the, as an ally in the LGBT community,
yeah.
in the disability community, I'm huge at,
Okay, yeah.
and just trying to make the world a better place for everyone else,
Mm-hmm. You
which in
haven't.
turn will make it a better place for me as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I wish people would realize that. And I hope that they listen to this and they
Yeah.
think about a place that's better for other people is also better for me.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
so, and some of it, unfortunately, if you also need to look at it in a selfish way. So my younger sister, who is 36 ish, uses a chair, uses a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
So if I fight to get a building accessible, that means I don't have to carry her
Yeah.
and her wheelchair up the
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah.
So her life's better. My life's better.
Right. That's what I told the kid who broke the arm. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is an opportunity for you to learn about how someone who has a physical impairment,
Mm-hmm.
how they get around. Now, I also have to encourage her to not milk it, which she already has tried to do today since coming home from surgery. She was like,
Oh,
she
100%.
was kidding. I think, was like, oh, well, can someone feed me? Yeah, we'll get you food and you can use your other good hand. Okay.
Yep.
But she did, like the medicines they give you, they may cause a little constipation. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they encourage like stool softeners as a follow up and stuff like that. And I said, oh, well, we get these chocolates that have, they have like 4 grams of fiber and like a little Reese's Pieces shaped kind
Yeah.
of, thing, not Reese's, but the peanut butter cup things.
Yep.
And you don't want to eat too many of those. I'm just saying, unless you have an issue. And I'm like, well, we got those, And so,
Yep.
and so I threw one to her. She ate her. She had her first meal after coming back after surgery, and then I said, "Here, why don't you have one of these too?" And then she said, "Can you open this for me? Because I can't get this." And then like all of a sudden, it was enlightening to me too, because I was like, "Oh, yeah, she can't open that." I guess she could go get some scissors or something, but like
Yeah,
in the moment, like that one like quick interaction, for me it's a rip and it's open, it's not a big deal.
yeah.
And she was just like, I need help.
That actually reminded me. Like I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah.
But so my dad's first church, Christmas Eve service. So we're talking 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister is in the chair. My mom and I are sitting in the front row. My sister's in the aisle in her chair. And the ushers came up to us and said, "That's a fire hazard."
Okay.
About my sister.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
my mom never. My mom never went back to that church again.
Yeah, no doubt.
My dad stayed there for like 4 years. My mom never went back again.
Yeah.
But that has stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a fire hazard. Not she. Can we move her and her chair?
Yeah. Right.
No, that's a fire hazard. And that verbiage.
Yeah. Like you're not even looking at a person as a person. You're just seeing as just an obstruction to whatever it is that slightly inconveniences you.
Exactly. But also, like, we're in the front row. The only person up front is my dad.
Yeah.
Who are we a fire hazard to?
Oh, you were front row PK?
I had to. Oh, I was suit and bow tie and spiky hair.
Yeah. So if to wrap up, if somebody is in progressive Christianity, but they might feel a little too scared to make that leap away from that, because let's face it, they're going to lose some community for a while. Until they'll probably have to build it themselves, honestly. What would you say to them to encourage them?
In that instance, they won't necessarily lose their community, because if that community really appreciates and accepts you, they're going to appreciate and accept this too. I still have all my friends from church.
Really?
Like I said, at the beginning, my best friend for the past 30 years is from church.
Yeah.
I still talk to tons of people. They don't judge me. They don't, think lesser of me. It's just, this is my spiritual journey. That's theirs.
Yeah.
We're still going to talk sports.
Yeah.
We'll have theological conversations.
Yeah. I miss having theological conversations. So I started a podcast. But I don't have any friends from that, and some of them I walked away from, and some of them they walked away from me. And there's there's one that was a little bit more political probably than
Yep.
religious, but it was still tied together since we went to church together. So couldn't help but avoid that.
Yeah.
But that's good to know. That's good to know that you guys might have something a little bit more special there than I did. Just because there is the ability to keep friendships,
Yeah.
and agree to disagree. And
Exactly. So you're
that's
not
fine.
necessarily gonna lose your community.
Yeah.
You're just gonna lose your activity for Sunday morning.
Yeah.
When you
Which,
could be sleeping.
yeah. Well, what do you do on Sunday mornings now?
Brunch.
Brunch. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
thing. It's your thing.
If you ever come to the Philly area, I'll put you in the point you in the direction of the best Bloody Marys.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't drink that much anymore. It is on occasion. I have a hard time imagining drinking like at 11 o'clock in the morning, but
Oh yeah. So
maybe it's not too
real
bad.
quick, that Super Bowl parade here in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We started at like 6.
Yeah.
It,
6 in the morning.
oh yeah. It was a long day.
That's the thing about those big celebrations is that when you win, it's crazy, and it can go bad if you lose. But not terribly different from leaving faith either. That it sounds like to me you got to win in this one if because you got to keep your friendship, but you still got to think for yourself and start to and just say, hey, I don't believe in this, but that doesn't mean that I have to lose any relationships over it. And
exactly.
So I feel like I'm the loser in this game. So but I'm making new friends. So like today, and Tim, it was great to have you today. I really appreciate it.
It's great talking to you.
Yeah.